Excellent. Okay. Good morning, everybody. So this was a bit of an impromptu live stream. I'm here at St. Gabe's, and I come every the first Tuesday of the month, and we hang out and we have Pop Tarts. Sorry, I'd send you one, but I don't know how. And yeah, we just talk about some fun stuff. And I thought, you know what, this morning, being that it's Holy Week, okay, we're going up to Good Friday and then Easter Sunday, right? I thought this might be a fun time to share with you guys a little bit about Good Friday. And I'm going to do a little bit of kitchen chemistry with you guys as well, okay? So here's what we're going to do. Before we start this, okay, I want you to keep an eye on these glasses. But before we start this and you find out what this one is, we need a little bit of backstory. Okay, so we've got my good book here. Okay, this is my Bible. On the front of my Bible, I've got, can you see that? What is that? That's a compass, right? Why would I have a compass on the front of my Bible? Well, what do we use a compass for? We use it for finding direction, right? And so I use my Bible. That's where I get the direction from. That's how I live my life. And at the beginning of the Bible is a book, the very first book of the Bible. And that is called the book of Genesis. Genesis means beginning, okay? It's at the start. It's the start of our story as humans with God, okay? It's the beginning of our history, our story with God, all right? Now, if you remember, in the book of Genesis, the very first thing we hear is that it's kind of two sort of styles of telling the same story, and it's the story of creation, right? We hear the story of the 7 days of creation. And those first 5 days of creation, we hear God is like creating the sea and the sky, the land, the trees, the fish, the birds of the air, right? All the animals of the land. And after each day, day 1 through 5, at the end, God says it was good, right? On day 6, God created human beings, you and me, right? And we hear a little bit later that was Adam and Eve. And God said at the end of that day, not just it was good, but God said it was very good. We have a special place in the story that's distinguished from all of the rest of creation. And that was the start of our story with God. Now, take a little zoom out from that, and we look at Adam and Eve specifically, okay? And we have to understand that this story of Adam and Eve is not a story of a science textbook of the beginning of humanity, okay? This is the story of the Jewish people's understanding of our beginning of our relationship with God. Okay. Now we understand that there was a time in our relationship with God when things were perfect. Okay. Adam and Eve, right? God created Adam first and then did some surgery, pulled a rib out of his side, created Eve. Okay. And the two became one. Okay. And that was the start in the Garden of Eden. Okay. So that was this representation of the perfect life with God, where we were close to God. God was close to us. There was no barriers in between us. Now, the story takes a turn when we remember the entrance of a particular evil figure, and we often hear about or see pictures of the snake, right? And you'll see it like a little garter snake hanging from the tree branch of an apple tree, right? And he's like, okay, that snake is the figure of Satan, the devil, right? Who was at the beginning was Lucifer, was actually one of God's most beautiful angels. But Lucifer was jealous of God. Lucifer wanted what God had, and Lucifer rebelled against God. And there was war between all the good angels and then the angels that Lucifer convinced to try and rebel and overthrow God. Now, the good angels won, and they cast down Satan and his army to the earth, where now Satan shows up to tempt Adam and Eve to not trust God, to put their trust in their own selves and not trust God. We hear about the tree of knowledge of good and evil, right? And Satan comes and says specifically to Eve at first, says, God is holding out on you, okay? This tree, he told you not to eat this tree. There was one rule in the garden. Don't eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, okay? And Satan says, God's holding out. If you eat that fruit, you'll be like God. You'll have the knowledge of God, okay? And so Satan is tempting Adam and Eve to take things into their own hands and become gods, okay, like he wanted to be, but he couldn't get to God anymore. So what does he do? He goes after the thing that's closest to God's heart, which is us, right? Adam and Eve, humanity, right? His favorite creation. And so he tempts them to place their trust in something other than God, which is something that we now as a human race do all the time. We trust all kinds of things other than God, don't we? Okay. And so this barrier goes up now. Adam and Eve chose to do things their own way rather than God's way. And a wall goes up in between them, right? Now we call this original sin. It was the first time when humanity rebelled against God, chose to go their own way, and put up a wall between them, us, right here, you and I, and God. And today we're going to talk specifically about Jesus, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. We're talking about Jesus on Good Friday. All right. So we have this now sin that has separated us from the love of God. We literally had to leave the garden. And then in the Bible, all of this, got it like right here. Look at this. This here is the Old Testament. That's the story of God trying to get back together with us to repair the relationship. And it's us continually saying, nah, we've got this. We're going to do it our own way. All right. Now enter Jesus. Okay. In the season of Lent, we hear about the life of Jesus and ultimately the end of his physical earthly life and his resurrection, right? So Jesus comes into the story in the season of Advent. Then we move into the season of Christmas. Then we have some time in between Christmas and the season of Lent. And now from Lent, we finish Lent with Good Friday, and we begin the new season of Easter right at Easter Sunday. So Good Friday on the cross. Jesus came in the New Testament, and all the stories, especially the gospel writers, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, they came to tell us who God was, to explain through Jesus what God is like. Jesus said to his followers, he says, you've seen me, you've seen God. This is who God is. And so he shows us this generosity. He offers healing to people who are hurting. He shows love to people who are persecuted, right? He takes care of the poor. He instructs us in all these beautiful ways to live. And what he's really telling us, he's like, God had a plan for us, and I'm here to reconstruct that and to repair that relationship. Okay. And so he goes so far in suggesting that he himself is God and that this is the way God has asked us to live, and the best way for us to live is through the life that Jesus shows us. That the people who were protecting all of the laws, they got intimidated and they were worried. They were like, you can't be God. You're a man. Okay. And they accused him of blasphemy. They said, you're not God. And to the point where they arrested him. And this is all what happens on Good Friday. Okay. They take Jesus, they arrest him, they try him, and they convict him, sentence him to death. Right. And the sign over the cross says, the King of the Jews, which was the charge that they charged him with. That's what they found him guilty of. Right. And even to the point where the teachers of the law, they said, no. This man says he's the King of the Jews. And Pontius Pilate, who crucified or ordered that Jesus be crucified, he says, what I've written. It's like, it's there already. Okay. And so Jesus gets named the King of the Jews. Right. When Jesus is crucified, he dies. And the temple curtain, okay, there was the Jewish temples, and there was a great big curtain, top to bottom, like 40 feet high, all one piece of cloth. And it separated people, us, you and I, from the Holy of Holies, which is where the Jewish people believed that God dwelled. It was God's house, literally to them. That's where God lived. And there was this great curtain that stood between them. And so the normal everyday people, you and me, weren't allowed to be in full relationship with God. We were separated by a curtain. Okay. Now, when Jesus died on the cross, the Bible tells us that the temple curtain was torn in two. what happens when that temple curtain is torn in two? There's no more division. There's no more separation between us and God. And that's what Jesus came to do, is make sure that we had full access and full relationship with God. Okay? So let's look at these things. We have this division, this separation between us and God, this kind of nasty looking, inky, reddish black substance. Okay? Now, when we first rebelled against God in Adam and Eve, that was like original sin. Okay? And it stained us. It tainted our relationship with God. Okay? It left a mark, right? See that? So that's original sin. Now, you know as well as I do, like every day we have the possibility, the potential of doing something wrong, right? We have the potential of putting up a barrier between us and God, or putting up a barrier between us and other people, right? We do things wrong. We miss the mark, okay? We sin, okay? And we can see this, like you just go ahead and open any news feed and you can see where people are choosing to do evil all around the world, right? And we have that choice any given day. And when we do that, we just continue to make that barrier between us and God. Okay? Now, here's what happens. Jesus crucified on the cross. He said there was two thieves, right? Remember this Bible story? Okay, on either side of him, there were thieves on crosses as well. And one of them said, hey, go ahead and save yourself. If you're the Son of God, you should be able to do that. And the other guy said, hey, what are you talking about? Like, this guy doesn't deserve to be up here. We're criminals. We deserve to die. We deserve to be up here. This man has done nothing wrong. And he asks Jesus, he says, please forgive me for the wrongs that I've done. And don't forget about me when you get to heaven. And Jesus says, truly, I tell you, this day you will be with me in heaven. Okay? And so Jesus takes his grace and he pours out his grace. Check this out. Let's watch this. He pours out his grace on the thief on the cross who said he was sorry. And he washes away the sins of the thief. And he does that for every one of us that would say to him, I'm sorry. Like, I want to do better. I don't want this division between me and God. And Jesus says, I'm here. I'm here. I forgive you. I love you. And I want to help you live the life that is best for us to live as humans. Okay. Now, who does he offer that to? Is that just like me, Chaplain Doug? No. Okay. Is that just like your mom and dad, the ones who go to church? And it's everybody. Okay. Jesus offers his forgiveness to the entire human race. And it's just a matter of us turning towards him and saying, I'm sorry, I screwed up. I want to do better. And so we take the sins of the entire human race and we offer them to Jesus. Check this out. Look at that.
Doesn't even do anything.
Now, how much? All of it? How much of the sin of the human race can Jesus take? Is there going to be a point where he's like, too much? Nah. All the human race through all of time, Jesus offers his grace and forgiveness. Isn't that cool? So we go into Good Friday this week, and we see Jesus on the cross. We hear the story of his crucifixion. And sometimes it's like, I don't know. I'm not sure how this works. Okay. This is kind of what it looks like in our lives, when we just turn and say, God, I'm sorry. I want to do better. Jesus pours out his grace on us and he says, I forgive you. Let's do this together. And he offers this friendship and this relationship that we can then use to live the best life that God created us to live. So that's what we're talking about on Good Friday. And it ultimately all finishes on Easter Sunday when it looks like death won. That was what it looked like to all of Jesus' followers, right? They saw him killed. They took him down from the cross. They wrapped him in clothes and they put him in a grave, rolled a stone in front. It was over. They thought that was it, right? And then they run to the tomb on Sunday morning and they see that Jesus is no longer there. And all that he said, that he promised that he would be back, came true. And Jesus defeated even not just sin, but death. is gone. We don't have to fear death anymore, right? We get to be with God forever. And that was what Jesus did. He took down all those barriers between us and him. And he offers that to every one of us. So these are some awesome things to think about, to pray about this Holy Week. So I'm going to be praying for you guys. I'm grateful that y'all showed up. Fantastic. Tyson, good to see you guys. Matthew, thank you. Talia, thank you. Ashley, thank you. Here, Mr. Trache, thank you. And I hope you guys have a really blessed Good Friday and Easter Sunday. I am going to finally have a vanilla latte and an Easter cream egg Sunday morning. It's been 40 days. I can't wait. But best of all, I'm looking forward to continuing this friendship with Jesus the rest of the year. All right. Love you guys. And we will talk to you again real soon. All right. Thanks, Matt. See you, buddy. Boom.